to help you on.
Good evening and welcome to the...
Oh, you're doing the intro?
Go ahead then, dude.
Sorry, dude. I had a new intro worked out. Please, continue.
I'm just messing with you. Go for it.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, legionnaires of all ages, welcome to the Wrestling Legion Weekly Podcast. And have we got a hell of a show for you today, because it has been a hell of a day in wrestling news, gentlemen. This is like Vince McMahon retiring all over again, but in reverse. Like, Triple H has got a new boss. I think is the short way to put this. Andy, I'm going to come to you first because you are the biggest Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson fan on planet Earth. He's a member of the TKO board. What have you got to say about it?
He is. Is Triple H actually part of the directors board as well, though?
I don't think so. He's just head of creative.
Because when he put his statements up before, he did actually say, "Welcome to the team." He didn't say that, so I don't know. But yeah, in all honesty, mate, it's just brilliant. It really is brilliant. I feel like, Rock's statement was just unbelievable, what he put. And I'm going to make this about me now, right? Or about even Russ, about what we've always said. I've been going on about it for so long about The Rock is going to be at WrestleMania. And one of the things that kind of got me was they turned around and said The Rock would not come back for money, which is very, very correct. He would never come back for money. But would he come back for the rights to his name?
Which he now owns. He has full ownership of The Rock.
Yeah, of The Rock, which is interesting. And also he was saying about his family's heritage and all the rest of it again with wrestling. So, could this be part of that kind of, because you've got TKO stock being a director now as well? And could that be the route that we're going down in order to get him into WrestleMania?
Well, I'm not a business head like you are. But to my understanding, I thought you had to be a shareholder to be on the board of directors.
No, you don't need to. It depends if he... I mean, the one thing they haven't said, which they haven't said whether he's an executive shareholder, an executive director or non-executive director. Now, non-executive directors... No, it's actually saying that, though, he'll be an executive director because he's on the board. So you don't go on the board without that. Now, he will get stock options. Whether that's given to him, he'll obviously have options to buy stock and stuff like that, and he'll also get paid a dividends as a director. But it's kind of like, okay, well, if he's a director, has he been given stock options at the front end? Because let's face it, he's got money to do it. But again, does he take up the money to buy that, or has he just been given stocks as part of a deal for WrestleMania? Because again, we do see that there is like for instance with Conor McGregor was trying to get stocks options as part of pay. It can happen, and it has happened in the past, especially in movies and whatnot. People have been given stock options or whatever, producers roles, whatever it may be.
Harrison Ford in Star Wars.
Yeah. So for me personally, I just think that potentially that's the way they've gone down. Is he's got stock options, which is something that I think to The Rock, it's more the money. I think it's just being part of that dynasty and, all the rest of it.
Can you explain, can I interrupt a second? Can you just explain in layman's terms, what is TKO, as an entity? What is it?
TKO is a subsidiary of Endeavor. So basically what happens is Endeavor is a big corporation. So say, for instance, Endeavor is Judgment Day. And then inside it, you've got Dominic Mysterio, Rhea Ripley, Finn Balor, which are all these little companies. That's the best way to describe it. So
Endeavor's like the umbrella, and TKO
Endeavor's the umbrella. They're the parent company, and TKO is a part of it. Now, the reason why companies do stuff like that is because, say, for instance, TKO went bust. TKO would go bust, not Endeavor. So all the rest of their businesses wouldn't be affected by the loss of TKO if that, I mean, touch wood, it never happens, but if that was the case. So that's why they put them under these umbrellas to kind of keep them as a separate entity so that it protects all the other business interests. Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
So as I say, if we've got Judgment Day, you know, is the main bridge, and then so like a holding group, So like for instance, Rhea Ripley, Dominic Mysterio, Finn Balor, Damian Priest are all holding companies. So if Damian Priest was to cash in Money in the Bank site and leave the Judgment Day, it wouldn't fold the rest of it because the rest of it are all individuals. Does that make sense? So that's why they use holding companies underneath the corporation so that, you know, they don't have to lose everything basically.
Okay. Cheers, mate.
Si, quick question to you. So now The Rock is partially in charge because the board are the men that are in charge. That is my understanding. The board have the final say on what happens within a company. How much influence do you think he's going to have on the product?
No.
I don't even think it's how much influence is he going to have. I think it's more how much influence would he want to have, and I don't think he would. I think if he's got his name, you know, he might put ideas forward. You know, he might text Triple H this and that, whatever. I don't see him being hands-on because he's got so much other stuff going on.
I think I've phrased it wrong. I don't mean the television product.
Okay.
I mean the WWE product, the actual product of the company as a whole. Because
I think we might have seen some of that already, because the other big news thing, just for spoilers for anyone who's not heard, it's been all over the socials today about the Netflix deal, which we'll get to in a bit. But you've got to think about The Rock has had 2 exclusive movies on Netflix the past few years. So, you know, has that already opened the door to this a little bit, or you know, it might already have influence.
Has the Rock linked them two together?
Yeah,
Tony is in Nick Khan and Netflix.
We might already have seen like the fruits of him getting this position and just not realized it. Then again, I could be completely wrong.
No, I agree with that idea.
What I don't think we're going to see suddenly is Simona winning the NXT Women's title. That would be foolish. But if we do, we know why.
Yeah. Can I just say, The Rock done an interview today as well, and he was actually asked outright about if he's going to be at WrestleMania. He said, "I'm a long gamer. I like to build. If Roman Reigns and I were to main event WrestleMania, and I mean it's very respectful to all WrestleMania priors because I grew up in the business and love it. We could possibly put on with us as the main event, and this incredible group of men and women who are incredible performers. We could possibly put on the greatest and biggest WrestleMania of all time." When asked if there was a chance we'd see him at WrestleMania, then he snickered and said, "Yes, there's a chance." They also joked about Stephen A. Smith managing The Rock opposite Paul Heyman. Seems pretty obvious at this point. When asked it, so that's it really. And then it just goes on to someone giving a bit of commentary.
I'm going to fire this one at you, Andy, because we all know it's close to your heart, right? For you, at the minute, we are riding the rocket, right, into The Rock headlining WrestleMania with Roman Reigns. That's what we're all assuming at this point.
Yeah.
But looking at it objectively, when is the cutoff point? Like, when is the latest that this storyline can proper kick off on television without it being too late to happen? Are we thinking this weekend? Are we thinking Raw? Are we thinking Elimination Chamber? What's your thoughts on that?
If it doesn't happen by Chamber, I don't see it happening because I think they need to build for it.
Yeah,
I think that at the latest. But I do believe we get it at the Rumble.
Yeah.
Well,
and I can tell you where
the triple threat again because I know how you guys feel about that.
Okay, can I just it's a load of nonsense. Shut up, Nick.
You can call it a load of nonsense, but it's entirely possible.
Grown-ups talking, Nick. Right, Simon. Let me ask you this question. Would you have the men's Rumble match as the last match on Saturday, or would you put Roman on at the last match? And it depends on what order they put that. Do you think that tells us anything?
Yeah. If the triple threat's on last, it tells us we're getting a new champion.
Four-way.
Four-way. Sorry, yeah. 3 challenges. I know what I mean. If the Rumble's on last, then it's more a guessing game of who the winner's going to choose, which I think would be maybe Cody winning. But I don't think Cody's winning. So I think the men's Rumble could very well open the show this year. But we'll see. I think that four-way's got a main event, hasn't it? Otherwise, it kind of gives away Cody. Cody.
Yeah, if Roman retains, it kind of gives away a Cody win.
Yeah. Or spoils the surprise Rock return if he actually enters it. I mean, he could do it that way. We don't know.
Yeah, and I think realistically, let's face it, no matter who wins the Rumble and points at that sign, if The Rock comes back and lays the smackdown on Roman, you want to end the show with him pointing at that bloody sign.
Yeah. Quick pop quiz for you guys, right? And I'll ask this to anyone watching as well. On that note, who was the first wrestler and when did the first wrestler point at the WrestleMania sign? I got this totally wrong today.
I want to say Shawn Michaels, 95.
No. You see, I was thinking that kind of genre, but no, it's way after that.
Sheamus.
No.
He was the first person I remember pointing at the sign. Who was it?
If I were to mention the word streak, that kind of gives it away a little bit.
Oh, it's Taker.
I believe it was 2007, and it was Undertaker. It was the first time that it was like, however.
Was that after where him and Shawn had the mini match at the end of the Rumble?
I think it was that year. Yeah, that makes sense.
I've got a question. I've got a question for you as well. What was the first year they used music in the Rumble?
Ooh,
as in entrance music.
93. 4.
91.
I'm going to check because I don't actually know the answer. I was asking the question.
Because I know Ric Flair's. I know that when Ric Flair won the Rumble, they had entrance music, and that was 92.
Oh, well, he got his exit music, didn't he? Did he get entrance? Yes, he did.
I think they had entrance music.
Yeah.
Can I just say
I'll go for 92.
Ric Flair come out with it to a cowbell.
Did he?
In 92?
Yeah, he didn't come out to any music. He actually came out to just a cowbell.
I could have sworn he came out to 2001.
With a tear in my eye.
Okay, so the first entrances and the first pyro was used in 1996.
Really?
There you go. So we're finding it all out today.
We are a fountain of information, which we usually aren't, so we're doing quite well. Right, lads. But moving on, but kind of sticking with the previous subject, as Simon mentioned before, WWE have just penned a deal starting January 2025 for Monday Night Raw on Netflix. This deal also includes for the UK fans, PLEs and NXT will also be on Netflix.
And
SmackDown. Sorry. I think this is fantastic. Financially, it's an amazing deal for WWE. They are currently receiving between $240 and $250 million a year for Monday Night Raw, and Netflix have paid them $400 million a year. I think for 5 years, which equates to about $2.8 billion.
However, are they going to be losing some commercial revenue? Is Raw on Netflix and SmackDown on Netflix going to have commercial interludes or not?
That's a good point.
So maybe that needs factoring in. I don't know.
Well, Netflix, I don't know whether you've noticed, they've actually changed the business model. So from not too distant future, you will be able to purchase a ad version of Netflix. So you can play Netflix, but it will have ads on it, or you can pay extra to have the standard non-added version. So there is different tiers that are coming into it. So from that perspective, but from a WWE perspective, exactly the same as when they were on USA or wherever they are, the actual revenue of the advertisements and whatever is nothing to do with them.
Yeah.
They don't have
That's
enough.
a good point. That's the TV stations that make the money off the advertising.
TV stations deal. So if Netflix believe this can work just based on a subscriber base, which is obviously something that they believe they may be able to do, then it's one of them, isn't it? The fact of like, well, that Netflix have paid that money.
What would you guys do with Raw? Okay, if it is commercial 3, then a 3-hour show every week is a long show to fill without commercial breaks. There's going to be a lot of filler. Would you reduce it to 2? Because technically you're still getting the same airtime without the adverts.
I don't think they will, because I think Netflix have paid for the 3-hour show. My assumption is that they're going to go all BBC on us. And as opposed to having standard commercials like you would for medicine and petrol and whatever the hell else, they're going to advertise themselves.
Yeah,
like they do on the net, like they did on the network. Where if you watch the difference between the network here in the UK, which has a far superior search function, generally runs better than it does on Peacock, compared to Peacock. Peacock, if you are on the lower brand, still has a lot of commercials on it. And when they are playing those commercials on Peacock, we get a lot of promo packages and list and videos and so on and so forth promoting the company. So I would assume.
Also, just to add weight to your thing, Nick, is the fact that they've also announced that they'll be doing new content on Netflix as well, documentary series, etc., etc. So, that'll probably be a really good thing for them to advertise in between.
On a side note, Si, do you think the fact that the Vince McMahon documentary is back on and coming out has anything to do with this deal?
Absolutely not. I
mean, is it coming back out? Is it coming out again now, or is it?
Yes, it's going to be coming out on Netflix. They're advertising it currently.
Yeah,
that is interesting.
I saw an advert for it the other day. That's interesting.
As for replays, Russ, don't know, mate. We'll be able to watch them or not. Just to give you a bit of context as well, guys. So just for the actual. Obviously, we want to make sure that we're being accurate here. The membership with ads costs $4.99, allows one person to watch at one time, as does the lowest cost membership without ads of $6.99. Standard membership $10.99, and then the premium membership of $15.99. So that's your Netflix.
Yeah, which is very similar to the Peacock. It's very similar to Peacock layout in the States.
What did it say? What did it say then? I think it was
other streaming platforms are available.
Yeah, but to be fair, mate, for the sake of £8 a month, I wouldn't mind.
Yeah.
Wouldn't mind in the slightest.
No.
Yeah.
No, to be honest, I mean, being able to get WWE TV live in the UK where you don't need a satellite dish is great news for anybody that's a fan of WWE and professional wrestling as a whole. Netflix is a huge platform. It's behind Disney as one of the biggest money-making companies in the world. I just don't see how this can be taken as a bad thing from my point of view and perspective, at least. I think this is fantastic news, especially for us in the UK, as now we're going to get Raw, NXT, SmackDown, the PLEs all in one place every month, every week. It's technically going to change. It's changing the way people are consuming media because Netflix.
Can I just give you a little figure here as well? Is just if you want to talk about, like everyone keeps going on about.
Whoa! Did you just ask if you could give us a little finger? We're going to be demonetized, dude.
I didn't say anything. I don't think it picks up the picture. It's just a quality sound. So don't know. But no, just to give you a little idea as well, is like, we go on about the ratings, and it's like 1.whatever million viewers on Raw at the moment worldwide. I don't really know what the figures are. I'll try and get the TNT viewing figures in a minute. But active subscribers on Netflix at present is 247.2 million.
That's a lot of potential eyes on your product.
It is, and potentially, you know, like obviously I work in business myself, and one of the things you always say with product placements is placing it where somebody might come in and test you, give you a go, sample you. Now,
Yep.
for WWE putting that on there and then releasing original documentaries, which will go into the documentary section on Netflix, whatever else is, you know, Netflix has one of the best things on Netflix, and it's one of the biggest successes that they have, is the you know, things you may like section.
Yeah.
So if you've ever watched the kind of documentary on Netflix or something like that, once WWE gets on there and a documentary comes on, then next minute, you know, people are going in and that's turning up in there what you may watch thing, and you know, you're opening up a brand new audience and a brand new people that may never have even sampled your product. And you know, so don't get me wrong, the money's massive, but you know, if I'm Nick Khan and that, like as a businessman, I'm rubbing my hands together because I'm like, you know, look at all this exposure we're getting. Look at that. I mean, you know, that audience is massive. That's a massive audience. That
the potential for growth is insane.
Can I break the trend here a little bit? And instead of going the whole show, hey Jim,
hi Jim,
hey Jimmy,
instead of going the whole show without talking about AEW, has anyone thought, because I haven't seen anything like this today, has anyone thought how this could affect them? Because we're now going to have a major television network without wrestling on it. Now, last time this happened, ECW stepped straight into that WWE slot on, I believe it was TNN.
Yeah.
Could this open up a new deal for AEW?
No, I don't think so, because AEW have got that thing with Warner. I think that wouldn't happen. More for the fact is for me, because I still feel like Warner have got a stake in the company. I really do.
Entirely possible.
But I believe TNA maybe could step in there, or I tell you who else, because don't forget they've just won a lawsuit with WWE, and they've also won quite a bit of money. MLW could step in and step up. Because now with that money they got off that lawsuit, from what I heard, it was quite significant. So they've probably got a little bit more bandwidth now to scale up as well.
That's a very good point.
Interesting.
Well, like, as I said, just can either of you guys think of a negative to this Netflix deal from a fan standpoint? Because I can't. Yes, you've got to pay a subscription fee to see it, but the WWE Network's had a subscription fee for nearly 10 years. And people have happily paid it. People watch it on pay on Peacock to watch it.
I've got one negative.
Go on.
We may get more zombie matches like we did. Don't forget that was Netflix.
True.
No, that was Sci-Fi.
No, it wasn't. It was Netflix.
No, it was Sci-Fi.
That
was ECW on Sci-Fi.
When the Miz got up by the zombies last year.
I forgot about that. Sorry, I was thinking the ECW on Sci-Fi Zombie.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus, I forgot about that. Yeah, that is a bad one.
And that was Netflix. So, yeah, there we go.
Have you guys seen the breaking news right before I came on? And I don't know if it's 100% confirmed, but I was reading a lot of talk about Okada. Have you been following it today?
Yes. Yep. Yeah.
Because I don't know the source. I don't know if it's confirmed, but the word is that he's going to be in NXT.
Good.
Now,
NXT?
Yeah. Whether it's just for 6 months or until Mania, I don't know. But I found it interesting straight away. A lot of people were like, why would you put him in developmental, you know?
Well, it's obvious.
Because Okada versus Dragunov will absolutely bang. That's why. Give me that match.
It's not just that. From a WWE perspective, Kazuchika Okada has spent his entire career wrestling Japanese strong style. He needs to learn the WWE style of wrestling in the ring. Yes, Okada is going to be Okada because he's a god in the ring. But he's got to learn the way WWE do it, the way they present wrestling as a television product. It's not just a match. It's a whole experience. And you need to learn.
Can he speak English?
Okada, not a great deal.
Gives some time to learn English as well.
I mean, to be fair, Nakamura couldn't when he came over. It's not essential, is it?
It's not essential, but can I just say, Jimmy just pointed out a great thing there. The Survivor series was from Netflix movie as well.
Yes, it was.
Yes,
but
it
we all
was.
love that egg. That egg was amazing.
Yeah.
I don't care what anyone says.
Pretend that Survivor Series didn't happen. It's
just on the card.
But it was the anniversary of The Rock's debut, Simon.
No, because Andy got all excited, and then there was no money shot. So let's just pretend it didn't happen. And
let's move on.
Yeah. Right. Well, in that case,
2024 now, the right, the wrong.
Moving on, gentlemen.
Can I just speak? Can I? No. Excuse me.
Oh, for God's sake, go on then.
How rude! I haven't even got to speak about Mr. Okada yet. So when I first seen this, for my first split second, I was kind of like, no, he needs to be on the main roster. But then I thought to myself, okay, as I said, there's belter matches for him to have in NXT. As you said, you can learn a little bit in terms of camera angles and the way WWE do things differently. But also, there was a very wise monk who said one time, less is more. And I feel it's, at the moment, I think everybody or the IWC especially would be expecting him to be on the main roster and just be throwing balls deep into it. Where it's like, you've still got Roman, Rock, hopefully, Cody, Punk, Gunter's on his way up and all like that. Just leave him for a bit. Leave him in NXT. Let him get it to thingy with it.
There's only ever been a handful of people that have skipped NXT. We're talking the absolute cream of the cream. Guys that can already perform, that already know how American television works, that can already promo. AJ Styles, Ronda Rousey, Dominic Mysterio, they are the elite. Now,
technically, Dominic didn't skip NXT; he just did it in a different order.
Fair, but I might ruffle a few feathers with this. But to me, the argument that Okada does need to go to NXT, at least for 3 to 6 months, is the same argument I always make about Kenny Omega, in that as fantastic as the guy is, not detracting from him in any way, shape, or form, he just doesn't connect the same with US audiences like he did in Japan. And that's because he didn't get that smooth transition.
Correct.
And I feel like Okada could benefit from that, like Kenny also could have done.
No, I'd agree.
And also, outside the hardcore wrestling fans, like if I walked up to my Ashton, say for instance, and I usually use our Ashton as a benchmark, if I walked up to him and said, Okada's going to WWE, he'd turn around to say, who?
Yeah.
And that's an old thing on it, because all of us know him. We are wrestling fans, we all know who he is, etc., etc. He's a really good wrestler. But, to that wider audience, bringing him through NXT in that way is probably a bigger deal.
I mean, Okada, to a certain extent, has broken through past the Japanese wrestling fans to a certain extent into the West. Like, for example, Andy, you don't really watch New Japan, but you know who Kazuchika Okada is.
I do now. I didn't.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Now. All right, so there is a certain level of breakthrough that he's made. But I will agree with both of you in saying that when it comes to the larger Western audience, a lot of people don't have a clue who Kazuchika Okada is.
No.
You can turn around and describe him as the Japanese Bret Hart all you like, but people are going to be like, who? As you say, Ashton is the perfect example.
No. I think that's unfair. I think most people know who Bret Hart is.
I walked into that one, didn't I?
Yeah, you did.
Right. Anyway, gentlemen, moving on.
Yeah. By the way, Jim, if we don't speak to you, sorry, mate, 1 sec. Just before we forget, if we don't speak to you before, Jim, have a fantastic time at the Rumble.
Yeah, dude, seriously.
So jealous.
I am. So jealous.
Wherever you are in the crowd, do a helicopter so we know where you are.
No. He's taking a Drip King flag and hanging it over the balcony.
Nice.
So technically, as long as he's on camera side, we should spot him.
All right. Yeah. Nice.
Well, I'll be dripping a lot if certain things happen.
Right, but moving on, gents. So we started Monday Night Raw with a bit of a mixed bag of bad and potentially good news for Seth Rollins. So it turns out the leg injury is not a year's worth of damage. It is 3 to 4 months. Now, that, if we do the maths, technically says that he may not make WrestleMania. But Seth himself is adamant that he will make WrestleMania. Generally, now I know, Andy, I'll come to you first because I know you haven't been overly impressed with Seth's world title run. You've enjoyed the matches, but you don't think it's wowed the way it could have, if I'm right in saying that.
No. I think the problem that we've had with Seth is he hasn't had a true foe. And all this just does me head in. It's just annoying. But, obviously he's a workhorse. He's really good in the ring. For 2 to 3 months doesn't leave him much time. And just because he says, I will be there, doesn't mean he will be there. It's still time to do what they need to do with him. But, I feel like because of what he's done over the last year, I feel like he deserves to be at WrestleMania. So I would really root for him.
Yeah, I would agree. Si, Andy and I were talking about this on the phone earlier before we came into the show. Were you surprised that it wasn't CM Punk that came out, wasn't Drew McIntyre that came out, wasn't Cody Rhodes that came out? It was Gunther.
Yeah, I don't think any of us were expecting that. And there was a noticeable change as well. His ring attire was different, and it was like he just, for the first time in 3-4 years in WWE, if you count NXT, he was speaking freely on the mic. Yeah. I don't remember Gunther getting that opportunity before. It's foreshadowing. It's setting up something possible for the future. Might not be at WrestleMania, might be a red herring, but it was great to see Gunther get that opportunity. And I think it was a great, not the best conversation on Raw. We'll get to that in a minute. But it was good.
It was very good. Myself, and I tend to agree with what you said to me earlier on, Andy. And we'll get to the main meat and bone veg of it when we talk about that other conversation in a bit. But I think there's a higher chance of Gunther winning that Rumble now than there was a week ago.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that really interests me at the moment. Sorry, Nick, I'll let you finish.
It's okay.
It's like I feel like we've got multiple options of stuff that's going to happen going into Mania season, and I don't think WWE have got it set in stone yet on certain parts. I do think we've got Roman Rock locked in. I really do truly believe that. But obviously with Seth being injured, I feel like there's a backup plan there potentially with Cody for CM Punk. I feel like if Austin accepts the offer, which they potentially have made to him for CM Punk versus Austin, then we could potentially pivot to Gunther now that we've got that little seed in there. And I just feel like there's a couple of different ways that we could go. And I feel like they're doing it based on giving themselves the options in case they need to do anything.
Do you guys remember playing Outrun in the arcades as a kid?
Oh, yeah.
So every level,
well, Andy doesn't.
Left or right, you could basically choose like easy or hard, left or right.
Yeah.
But whichever way you went out of the 20 whatever routes that there were, it was always interesting and exciting. And that reminds me of this year's WrestleMania, because even if we don't get what we thought we're going to get something that's going to be just as good. And some of the options are tantalizing.
Tantalizing is good choice of words.
What this situation reminds me of a lot, for long-time viewers, is Shawn Michaels at the Royal Rumble in 96 when he was injured. Chokeslammed on the casket or whatever it was that did his back in. I know there were other issues as well, but he could just have disappeared. He could have dropped the title, but he came back and he went WrestleMania injured and dropped the belt the right way. And I think that could be the best case scenario for Seth. If he is able to compete, he will come and he will put whoever takes that belt over.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
One thing I will say though is, don't believe everything you hear with that. I'm going to be at WrestleMania 40. The problem you've got with an ACL tear and a meniscus tear as well, because let's not forget he's got a partial meniscus there as well as that is. These are the type of injuries that you could tear wrong getting up off the toilet and it'll pop completely. So how he manages it's going to be really, really well. Is he going to be ring fit by the time we get to WrestleMania?
Well, I want to ask you a question, Andy, because you've obviously competed in MMA, so you've had leg injuries yourself. You understand how these work. Yeah. if he gets surgery, will he be out longer, or if he just rehabs?
Yeah. So they're not looking at surgery now, which is why it's just a short turnaround. But if he does get surgery, you're probably looking 6 months maybe before he can do it, and it's because there's when you do the surgery, don't forget you've got to then the likes of it's got a bit of a tear, it'll hopefully knit itself back together. You start putting surgery in there, and especially with it being an ACL in the back of you and a meniscus in the back of your leg, you've got to then start re-stretching them out and everything else, and it just gets a bit nightmarish.
Okay,
it's not the actual surgery; it's the rehab that'll take the time more than anything else.
Well, I just want to say, get well soon, Seth. I really hope he makes Mania. I really do. He deserves it this year. He's worked his arse off with that title. And I just hope he gets better soon. Moving on to a bit of news that I got told.
Can I just give my theory on the Royal Rumble, my last one?
Oh, go on.
Obviously, I'm a big nerd in life anyway, and I always try and come up with
hang on.
eventuality.
Does this involve The Rock coming out as a surprise entrant and winning?
No.
Right, go ahead.
So it's just to get to another place. So at the moment, it's being this thing of everybody feels like it's Cody or Punk that's going to win the Rumble. They had the little face off, everything else that goes there. Yeah, I believe that Gunther wins the Rumble and eliminates the two of them, and then we have this build up to Mania of Punk versus Cody. And it's all to do with they blame each other for them both not winning the Rumble.
Entirely possible.
Did you guys see that CM Punk tweeted the number 5 earlier today and then deleted it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. John Cena's on Logan Paul's podcast tomorrow as well, Jimbo says.
Oh, is he? Well, that'll be interesting. I mean, I can't stand Logan Paul, but it'd be interesting to hear what John has to say. Yeah, but Logan's getting a lot of guests from the company. He's had Randy, he's had Edge before he left. Seth's been on there.
Can I just say as well, obviously we'll move on from WWE and just a bit of ECW, AEW. Sorry, Paul. I seen do you know what, mate, right? I seen your comments on Jay White and the bang crap the other day. What a pittance, and go say.
Right, so you have 6 months where two sons turn on their father. You get a feud that goes on and on
and on
and on, only for them to all come together and have an extremely camp celebration. Now, I'm sorry, I can't say anything else about it. It's like Dominic and Ray, father-son fallout. Owen and Brett, brothers fallout. Nothing to do with which company it happened in. It felt real. It felt believable. It's not just an on again, off again, on again. Please, guys, somebody make it make sense.
I'm about to. It sucks, but I've worked it out. This is Tony Khan's grand plan for an apology for Jay White for not making him the world champion. Because realistically, MJF was hurt when he wrestled Jay White. Jay White should have won the AEW World Heavyweight title. Samoa Joe should be nowhere near the AEW World Heavyweight Championship. I believe Tony Khan's grand plan is to have the Bang Bang Scissor Gang run for a couple of months as tweener baby faces. It's an awful name, by the way. It's a bloody awful name. Right? But I believe the plan is for them to have Jay White and the Guns turn on the Acclaimed, take the Trios Championships again. Take the Trios Championships, bastardize another Ring of Honor title, and merge the two Trios belts. Because what company needs two Trios belts?
What company needs one, to be fair? It killed the tag division overnight.
But I literally believe that that's his plan, is to have them turn on the Acclaimed and Billy certain point down the line, take the belts, and then unify the belts into a new Trios Championship. And it's his way of kind of placating Jay.
It still doesn't make any sense. It still doesn't make any sense.
Stupid.
And I will put this question out there now. AEW, it just hasn't been the same this past 3, 4, 5 months in my mind. But why would Okada have chosen that company after seeing what's happened to Jay White? Because
yeah, it's hilarious, Jim, in an ironic kind of way.
Yep. But don't say things like that on Cage Match, because you're not allowed to talk about one company when you're on the other company's forum, because it's not all wrestling and it doesn't all come under the same umbrella, and they just want to ask me a question or I'm going to go on a major rant.
Okay, we'll let you rant in a minute. Right, bit of other WWE, back to WWE. Bit of news I found out about half an hour before we came on. Kevin Patrick's getting the boot. Yes, the most excitable surprised commentator in all of wrestling, who sounds like Father Dougal from Father Ted, is apparently just not working out. Thank God.
That's right, Ted.
You can go back to doing the crab in interviews backstage. And do we think, gentlemen, as there is a certain other announcer who connected excessively well with the WWE universe, who most fans thoroughly enjoyed his work with Corey Graves on SmackDown, who happens to commentate for UFC on a semi-regular basis.
Mamma mia.
And do we think maybe this is Endeavor's way of getting Morrow back in the team?
Yes, please. His issues were with Vince. Vince is no more. Bring me Morrow.
Yeah, Andy?
Good to you.
Yeah, I honestly, it's more of a hope for me because I'm just like Kevin Patrick's gone. I can't stand him.
But why? Let's ask the real question here. Why did it take 12 to 18 months to get him off the commentary table? Because he was goddamn awful from the very beginning.
I will tell you why now. Because if you look at the Wikipedia page for WWE commentators in the last 5 years to 6 years, they have been desperately trying to find Michael Cole's inevitable replacement. Failed at every single reach until they got to Mauro Ranallo, but Vince didn't like him on a personal level, so it didn't work out. Because
Mike Goldberg's available now as well.
Oh, is he?
Ooh,
that'd be interesting. I like Mike Goldberg.
Bellator's no more, is it?
Interesting.
I didn't know that. I did not know Bellator was doomed.
Bellator's gone, mate.
Well, that's a shame. I always liked Bellator. It was a good company. But that was just a bit of side news. Now on to the main event. Ladies and gentlemen, the real main event. Sai, I'm going to come to you because I think you were as impressed with this segment as I was. On last night on Raw, we got Cody Rhodes and CM Punk having a face-to-face. I thought this was done marvelously. I thought the timing, what they said to each other, just the general back and forth, the mannerisms, the facial expressions, the story Punk told about Dusty and basically saying at the beginning, well, everyone else talks about your dad, so I'm going to as well. I thought was phenomenal. Just what were your impressions on the segment? What do you think it's leading to? Go.
So to start with the negative, not like I tend to do that a lot. We did get shades of this same promo when Cody left AEW, and we also got shades of it when Roman was speaking to Cody because he told a similar story about his father. But that's all good. Straight up, how often do we get a face-to-face in the ring where the wrestlers speak naturally, intelligently, and don't worry about insulting the fans, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, there were words in there that I had to Google, you know? I have no idea what nepotism is. There were words that were used correctly and used well that would never have been used under the Vince McMahon regime. And the fact that Cody did his Cody and he turned things around on Punk. And I actually thought for a second, yeah, Punk is up there, isn't he, with the microphone? He's maybe top 3 this past 15, 20 years. But can he come back to that? And boy, did he. He turned it around. He span it. He gave it right back to him. And Cody has been the real CM Punk. And CM Punk has been the real American Nightmare. and it was beauty. It was a cinematic moment on my screen watching Raw. I literally, everything stopped. I watched it twice.
Sunday.
Yeah, they're two of the best talkers in the business, but you could put Paul Heyman and The Rock in there, and yes, it might be more entertaining, but would it be as good? No. And I think that could very well stand up in another 11 months as promo of the year.
Yeah, the only thing that would have been better was if he turned around and started singing "The Never Ending Cody."
What I loved,
no, don't.
no,
I'm not having any never-ending story besmirchment. Michael End wrote that book, and I had it in 1984, and I grew up with that book. I associated with Bastion all the way, and for it to be used in a Cody Rhodes meme is just damn right disrespectful.
Yeah, I just love the song.
Right, but for me, Andy, one thing I really enjoyed, because I think it was Punk's idea, was Cody shoulder barging him at the end. Because he didn't have to do it. That promo was enough. There was enough build, there was enough emotion in what they were saying to each other for that to just be enough. But that little tap at the end and seeing the switch flip on
and
Punk.
the eyeballing. How long did they hold that? It must have been 30 seconds, and I don't think either of them blinked. It was epic. Yeah.
It's just phenomenal.
It was.
I mean, both of you guys know that CM Punk, Cody Rhodes are my favorite wrestlers. Like, I don't care what anybody says. I think CM Punk's the best mic worker of the last 30 years. And I think he's better than The Rock. I think he's better than Steve Austin. Sorry, Andy, I do. I think on the mic, he can't be touched in the last 30 years. And I think Cody's the best pure babyface WWE have had in a decade. That's arguable, I know, but it's just my personal opinion. To see those two
Lex Luger
at this point in history, after everything that happened in AEW for both of them, all the bullshit that they both went through in that company, to see them in WWE being presented correctly, being used correctly, being given the opportunity to demonstrate how good they really fucking well are, pardon my French, is magic.
Yep.
And I'm so
I think from Triple H's perspective as well, though, it sets that standard, doesn't it, for anyone else who's sitting off, not getting used properly, and thinks, let's have another go with it, especially some of the younger talent. If I was MJF, I'd be thinking,
It's not just MJF, it's Ricky Starks, it's Will Hobbs. How many of these guys are we going to see make the move over the next year? It's
Griff Garrison.
Yeah.
I think Griff Garrison will be in NXT in the next couple of years.
Nah, Alexis King was always the Shawn Michaels out of those two. Garrison
he always was. But I think Griff is good enough to work in NXT. And I don't mean to work in NXT, I mean to get over in NXT if he's given the right direction. Because the one thing that a lot of, just a minor rant, the one thing that really annoys me in AEW is they go on and on and on about how they've got this younger roster.
And then you get Edge against Minoru Suzuki. Yeah. Combined age of like 212.
It's just ridiculous. And then also, let's just, because it's technically CM Punk related, it's going to make me want to rant, but the Young Bucks.
Oh.
Now, they have started, I'm assuming, I don't know if you both saw it, a EVP angle. This is an anti-CM Punk storyline.
Yeah.
That's all it is. That's blatantly what it is. It's disgraceful. It's childish. Right? And I cannot believe they're getting away with this on television. And this is in the same week when I have to find out that they are screwing Darby Allin out of his rightful match with Sting at Revolution. And do you know why they're doing it? Because Darby and Sting are wrestling Big Bill and Ricky Starks for those tag titles. So they're doing it to put the freaking tag belts back on the Bucks, which is disgusting. I understand Sting has always been a guy to do business. He's always been about the business, the company he works for, doing the right thing for the right guys. But even if this was his idea, he's wrong. This should be Darby's match. Would either of you disagree?
If Sting could have a singles match, yeah, but he might not be able to.
I straight up don't have an opinion. I don't want to see Sting and Darby wrestle the Bucks.
Nope.
Yeah. What I do find interesting about it, on a segue, to go back to CM Punk, because he's like, the man of the hour. Isn't it great how we had those references from the Bucks, like you say, skitting Punk without actually talking about him, which was clever to their credit. But we've had that, and then we've had Jack Perry ripping up his contract while indie fans were chanting for CM Punk. Isn't it like a telling sign that you get to a certain level, and when you leave, fans keep chanting your name? Because Punk's had it both ways now. How long did WWE fans chant for CM Punk? Like 8-9 years? And then they finally stopped, and then he came back. And then when he leaves, the core fan base that he's left are still chanting for him, and it's once in a generation.
I personally believe that Punk is one of the last mega stars of professional wrestling, like the Steve Austins, the Shawn Michaels, the Rocks, the Hogans, these guys that were to a certain extent viewed as bigger than the business. At least their characters were viewed as bigger than the company they were in.
Yep.
The thing is, though, do you know what the problem is, though? You've got the likes of the Rock. I mean, LA Knight's got that potential, let's face it, 100% has. To get up to that standard, especially with the pops rate and the way it goes with him. But on the flip side of it, you've got the one thing that Rock, Stone Cold, all them had in common was the fans thought they were bigger than the business and they were the superstars. The talent didn't. And that's the problem with AEW. The talent think they're bigger than the rest. Do you know what I mean? Because who in the right mind would set up an EVP storyline that is just absolute stupid just because they're their own back on thingy? And that's the problem. That is the problem. Once again, it's the Bucks showing that the Bucks think they know what's best, but they don't. They just do what's best for them.
Honestly, it's, in my opinion, the Young Bucks showing you exactly what Kenny Omega called them 3 months ago. Immature, petulant children. Like, I'm sorry, but you have NDAs in place to stop you talking about everything that happened. So now, because you're a petulant, bitter child who didn't win the fight, you're going to turn around and start creating an alternate loophole so you can actually talk about what you're not legally allowed to talk about. And yet CM Punk has gone on for how many weeks? How many weeks has been since Survivor Series?
Like 8. I don't know.
And he hasn't mentioned AEW once, to my knowledge. Not once. No, because he's
okay. If fair's fair, there was the one comment. I forget what it was exactly now, but something about knocking somebody out after a press conference or something like that.
I think he said attacking people backstage.
I guess from the Snowman's point of view, that was a direct assault, and this is just firing back. Maybe he's justifying that in his not fair brain. I don't know, but it wasn't the same level by any means.
No,
you're right, Andy.
But you are right in what you're saying is that there was still a bit of a jab there. So fair's fair.
Yeah.
Okay, lads. But we've come to that part of the show again, boys, where I turn into Cody Rhodes and I ask you what you want to talk about.
May I go first, Andy?
Yeah, I've talked about everything I want to.
Well, let me tell you guys something, brothers. There's one thing that we haven't spoken about today. The largest arms in the world, the 24-inch pythons. Did you not see the little clip? He's got one more match left in him, dude. Do we think it's going to happen? If so, against who?
Akira Tozawa.
That'd be hilarious. I really hope not. Hogan, as we all know, hasn't been able to lift his arms past here in 40 years.
I think 40 years is a slight exaggeration because it's 40 years today since he won the world title.
Okay, since WCW.
Today. Yeah. Okay.
Right. Since WCW. He's not fast here. His back is like made of metal at this point, and wiring and stitches and everything else. I really hope not. Like, you won't hear me bag on Hulk Hogan like a lot of other people. Yeah, he's an old racist and he shouldn't have said what he said. But as far as his career goes, if it wasn't for two men, which is Hulk Hogan and Vince McMahon, the three of us wouldn't be sat here talking about wrestling right now.
Thank you, sir.
We just wouldn't. And a large portion of the fan base, especially fans our age, would not be fans without Vince McMahon and Hulk Hogan. We just wouldn't.
You know who's perfect for Hulk? Just to answer my own question. He gets a 30-second match where he throws some punches, where somebody helps him do a big boot and then helps him down to the pin, and he beats Jinder at Mania. Just,
that's a really good idea. Jinder's perfect.
Because anybody else but Jinder is going to get cheered. So
yeah, Jinder's going to get booed out of the building, regardless.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, Jinder is, and I don't mean this disrespectfully either, because the Brooklyn Brawler was one as well. Steve Lombardi was phenomenal. He's a great job guy.
Yeah.
You've got to have your job guys. Yeah. And Jinder is a phenomenal job guy.
Don't you dare hinder the Jinder. He's a former WWE champion.
He's still a great job guy. Like I said, I don't mean it disrespectfully at all. I mean, you need people that are there to lose matches and look good doing it. And Jinder looks good in defeat every single time.
Yeah, it's just like Cody looks straight in the mid-card.
Don't be ridiculous.
Talking about Cody, just last question from me. If we do end up with Cody and Cena at Mania, which a lot of people have talked about on and off for quite a while, how would you guys feel if we turn it into a cosplay match and we actually got the Peacemaker versus Codelander? How good would it be? Somebody make
I'd be down for that. One, just to see John Cena do that stupid ass dance on the way to the ring.
I want that entrance in the Rumble. Full Peacemaker attire, just strutting down the ring.
It'd be hilarious.
It'd be amazing. Yeah.
It'd be absolutely hilarious. Right, but gentlemen, have we got anything to plug this week?
No. One thing before we go, question, one answer. Who's going to win the Rumble?
Cody.
Sorry.
Bailey.
Right, men's Rumble.
Good choice.
Yeah. Gunther.
Okay. And I'm picking Bailey to win the Women's Rumble as well.
I'm only joking.
Oh, that's a pop rock. I like it.
Oh, amazing.
Nice.
Yeah. Amazing.
Nice. We should have a wager on this, guys, because we got 3 different answers. I will wager you all £1 British pound.
Deal.
Yeah. Okay.
Right, but ladies and gents, that's the show. For everyone who's tuned in this week, for everyone who tunes in any week to hear us rant and rave and talk about this crazy thing we call professional wrestling, thank you so much. We love you all. Right. I've been at the Geek. That's been Andy. Now he's the Rock. Right. He's been Simon. And remember, we are just 3 geeks obsessed with a good show. And our opinion means nothing without yours in the comments below.
Absolutely nothing.
Right.
And
so,
here at Wrestling Legion, we make it make sense.
If you smell,
see you next week.